There aren't that many things in life that go from just totally impossible to very doable in such a concrete way.
And the whole goal is to help introduce different types of hobbies to people.
And it's very clear to see linear improvement in some cases in climbing, and it's fun to see that.
I think the bigger walls would be, I mean, that looks cool. Yeah.
All you have to do is walk into a gym, buy a day pass, and rent some gear and get started. Like, there's really kind of very few barriers to entry, and it's just much easier to do. I think like the point of it all is just to push yourself to do moves that are harder and harder and harder for you and realize what's possible without anything else getting in the way, just kind of stripping it down to just those hard moves. Indoors, most things that you do are going to be pretty safe, as long as you are kind of generally aware of what's underneath you and aware of how you're falling. You're climbing over big fluffy mats, and you can generally land on your feet and then roll back, or just land on your back or land on your butt, and you're going to be pretty much fine. Like, if you think about what climbing entails, you might think that you have to be able to do a couple pull-ups in order to get up a wall, but yeah, totally not true. If you can climb a rung or two on a ladder, then you can get up the easiest boulders in the gym. So it's not about like super long-term endurance or staying with it for a long time, but it's just about doing the thing in the moment that's as hard as can be, or pushing yourself to the limit. And because the moves are so hard, you have to do them perfectly for yourself. So you have to figure out every tiny little detail, like which part of your shoe is standing on this little grain of sand on the rock, or exactly which angle your heel is, everything like that. Like, it all really matters. So getting to go to different places around the country, different places around the world, and training, I think, is just like one of the aspects. Easiest boulder you can imagine is just climbing a straight up ladder, like just rung, 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 just simple, straightforward ladder. Easiest V0, just simplest thing. But then if you make the ladder harder in any way, it gets a little bit harder, right? So you could make the rungs all really greasy, or you could take out half the rungs so they're really far apart. Or you could kick back the angle so you're climbing an upside down ladder.
What underclimb?
That one right there.
But if you do any one of those things, you make it maybe 1 grade harder. But then if you do 2 of those things, like you make the rungs really slippery and far apart, then you make it 2 grades harder. If you look at an actual boulder problem, you could have something that's really, really vertical, but all the holds are super tiny. So you're just grabbing onto little tiny dime edges and dancing up the wall. Or you could have something with giant buckets for hand and foot holds, but you're totally upside down. And I like that bouldering gives you all of that. And I think for most people, there's at least some desire to be a bit well-rounded and get to do all of it.
There you go.
What is a fin?
Yeah, it's definitely nerve-wracking. Come on.
But then outdoors, there's a much bigger role in spotting. It's much more on you and your group of friends or whoever you're with to make sure that you're safe. It's not about the gym's responsibility to have mats underneath you or anything. You need to make sure that you carry in your crash pad, put it underneath, and make sure that it's not just under where you're starting on the boulder, but under where you're gonna fall.
Yes.
No, no way, I did not have that. And then the role of spotting is also really important. So that's the people who are gonna make sure that they're gonna guide you onto the mat. So basically their job is to make sure that when you fall, you land in a good way and on the mat. They're not like there to catch you, but they're there to guide you or push you or shove you onto the mat and have you like land where you're supposed to. But I think another part of it too is that because there's so many different types of boulder, there's just so many different body types that are going to excel on different things. So like for me, I'm really short, so there's just a lot that is going to be harder for me because I can't reach through things. But there are a lot of boulders where the goal is to get all scrunched up or to get into a little ball or to start really low to the ground, and I'm going to be much better at that. Shoes and a chalk bag are the most basics. Yeah, you don't need anything besides shoes and chalk. It's to keep your hands dry and make sure there's good friction between your hands and the rock. For me, at least, it's a mental cue to try hard. I feel kind of weird if I pull onto a boulder without having chalked up. And it's honestly not because my hands aren't dry enough or because they're sweating too much. It's because I'm so used to dipping my hands in and making sure they're chalky. It's like not super necessary, especially in the gym when there's tons of chalk around. But everyone does it, and it just, it's a habit that you develop. I think in the beginning, people have this kind of tendency not to rest between climbs. They just do one and then they walk over and do the next one. And, maybe if you rested 2 or 3 minutes between them, might help a little bit. But I think realistically, it's just something that you get there in the beginning. Not like badge of honor a little bit, but because you're gonna get both the skin on your hands and also just the tightness in your forearms pretty quickly in the beginning.
And there's a rail way back there. So you're really gonna have to reach for it.
It is so collaborative and so social because I think most of the time that you're bouldering, you're just sitting on the mat or you're looking at the boulder or you're brushing holds or you're just kind of standing there analyzing it and deciding what to do, miming the moves. And there's always something in common, like there's always something to talk about because you're working on the same boulder or they can give you advice on the boulder you're working on. So it's so easy to start conversations and so easy to interact with people. I've always loved just being able to walk into a bouldering gym in any city or anywhere in the world and just feel like I can make friends or at least make acquaintances, make people to chat with. And I've used it a ton while I've been traveling or while I've been alone in a new place to just walk in and have something to do and have people with a shared interest or something in common with.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
I think it's easiest in the gym, especially, if anyone doesn't have headphones in the gym, you just go up and chat with them and say, like, can you give me advice on this boulder? Or have you done this one? Do you think it's cool? Or like, what's your favorite boulder in the gym? Or just anything. If you're doing something, I just want you to get up it as much as I want myself to get up it. And like, maybe if we're friends and there's a little bit of friendly competition, I want to do it first.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to discover more hobbies and visit notjusthehobby.com to learn more.